What would you do if Padre Pio told you to turn down 3 life-changing opportunities? Today's story is about a woman who listened to his guidance, leading her to a future she never imagined. Stay tuned to hear the story. Welcome to Following Padre Pio. Whether you're a returning viewer or new to our channel, we're excited to have you with us. Padre Pio, a Capuchin friar, mystic, and miracle worker, continues to inspire and intercede in powerful ways today. Discover how Padre Pio's legacy can touch your life and the lives of your loved ones. Subscribe now and let's embark on this spiritual journey together. Before we get to today's story, I want to share some wonderful news. Our new website is finally up and running thanks to the generous support of our special appeal donors and our monthly contributors. On followingpadrepio.org, you'll find many articles exploring the life, teachings, and miracles of Padre Pio updated weekly, along with novenas, prayer cards, and even free ebooks to enrich your spiritual journey. And, as before, you can enroll your Mass intentions for our Padre Pio Holy Masses celebrated every Friday. So please, when you get the chance, take a moment to explore all the site has to offer. The link is in the description below. And now to our story. Today's story comes from the book Padre Pio, Extraordinary Facts of the Saint of the Stigmata by Laureano Benitez and Oscar Pena. It's an inspiring testimony of Yvette Levasseur, a woman whose life was filled with struggles, but who, through her obedience to Padre Pio, found unexpected blessings. Without further ado, let's dive into her remarkable story. Yvette's life wasn't easy, and her story begins with loss. Both her parents died when she was just a little girl. After her parents' death, her aunt and uncle, who lived in Paris, adopted her. They owned a small business in the downtown section of Paris, where they made shoes for people with disabilities. Yvette soon learned the trade and began helping in the shoe shop. All was well for a time, but tragedy struck again. When Yvette was 16 years old, her aunt died of cancer. Just 2 years later, her uncle died as well, leaving her completely alone in the world. She continued running the business all by herself, but struggled constantly. She lived in a small room above the shoe shop, barely scraping by. Sometimes all she could afford to eat was bread and milk. But in the midst of her struggles, a glimmer of joy appeared. One day, while visiting a bookstore in the Notre Dame parish, Yvette came across a book about Padre Pio. She found it so interesting that she immediately bought it. After reading the book, she felt a strong desire to visit San Giovanni Rotondo. But how could she? She barely had enough money for food, let alone a trip to Italy. Now, here's where things take an interesting turn. By a stroke of luck, shortly after reading the book, Yvette met a couple who were planning a trip to San Giovanni Rotondo. They invited her to come along, and she happily accepted. The year was 1958. In San Giovanni Rotondo, she attended Mass and felt what she described as the true greatness of Padre Pio's presence. When she returned to Paris, she wrote to Padre Pio asking for his prayers, and soon she received a letter back informing her that Padre Pio was indeed praying for her and sending his blessings. But that was only the beginning of their correspondence. Not long after, Yvette was offered a job. A woman wanted to hire Yvette to accompany her family on a 2-month holiday trip as a tutor for her children. Although she was about to accept the job, Yvette first sought Padre Pio's approval and wrote to him for advice. Soon she received his response: "Do not accept the job. Remain in Paris." Can you imagine? Here she was, struggling to make ends meet, and Padre Pio is telling her to turn down the opportunity. But Yvette trusted him completely and obeyed. However, the shoe shop business continued to decline. Yvette then decided that the best course of action was to sell the business and get at least some money while she still could. She wrote to Padre Pio again to ask his advice, but once again the answer was a resounding no. Even though it must have been difficult to understand at the time, Yvette obeyed once more and held on to the business. Then another opportunity arose when a woman offered Yvette a job as an assistant in her boutique in Luxembourg. Yvette was sure this was a great opportunity. It would mean that she would have to leave Paris, but she didn't mind. Following her usual routine, she wrote to Padre Pio again, and for the third time he advised her not to accept. 3 offers, 3 rejections. Yet, she remained faithful and continued her hard life in Paris. Shortly after receiving that third letter, Yvette met a very pleasant man named Maurice, and before long they were married. To their surprise, shortly after their wedding, Maurice inherited a very profitable business from one of his relatives. Thanks to this inheritance, Maurice and Yvette were able to live comfortably. The financial worries that had plagued Yvette for so long were over for good. They soon welcomed their first child, followed by 2 more beautiful children. Looking back, Yvette realized why Padre Pio had always told her to stay in Paris. If she had taken any of those job offers, she would have left the city and never met her husband. Padre Pio has seen what she couldn't, the future that awaited her if she trusted in God's plan. End of story. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to check out our website. The link is in the description below. God bless.